Hey there, I hope you're doing great. It's your last art assignment for the school year, and next year hopefully we'll be back together and doing assignments in the classroom, and I look forward to that. That'll be a lot of fun for us. But for now we're doing this online. So today we're going to learn a little bit about color mixing. You will need a piece of paper, a pencil. If you have paints, that would be great. That's really your best bet if you have paints. If you don't, my second choice would be color pencils. My third choice for you would be color crayons. So can you go gather those items and meet me back here in just a minute? Thanks. Alrighty, welcome back. I have gathered some things here together. I have a piece of paper that I'm going to do some practice on, so it's a small piece. And then I have a larger piece that we'll do our project on later. I have a bowl that I'm going to use for tracing. So see how big it is compared to my hand? I want you to see if you can find something to trace this size, about as big as your hand. I have a pencil, I have my watercolors, and I don't know, I can't remember if I've shown you these before, but I have a very big palette with lots of paints. And I did clear off a section here in the middle because we're mixing paints today, and so we need a clean space to mix. If you're using your paints on when you open yours on the lid, inside the lid, you can do mixing there, but you want to always clean it off and wipe it off before you close it again so that you have nice clean paints to come back to. Okay, I have a big jug for water and my paintbrush, and I always like to have a paper towel or a rag for blotting. I actually have both today. Okay, so let's get started. First I want to talk to you about, at the beginning of the year, you might remember we learned about the primary colors. Remember what those were? Is anybody calling them out, I wonder? Okay, one of them was yellow. So I'd like you to get some yellow on your brush and just give us a little patch of yellow on your paper. If it doesn't feel dark enough to you, you can always go over it more than once. So there's some yellow. Okay, what was one of the other primary colors? How about red? Okay, my red is a little bit of a pinkish red, and I chose that one because it mixes really well, because we're going to do some mixing, like I said. So please put a little red there. And then the third primary color, do you remember what that one was? Blue. You're right. Good. Okay, red, yellow, and blue. Now, if you have red, yellow, and blue, you can make all the other colors. So let's start with the next level. Let's call them levels of colors. These were the primary colors. After the primary colors, there's some more that we can do. Do you remember what those were called? How about secondary colors? So let me move my palette over a little bit so you can see my mixing area here, and I'll zoom in. Okay, when you are mixing paints, you always want to add the darker color into the lighter color. Darker into lighter. This is what that means. Yellow is a light color. If I'm going to mix red or blue into it, yellow is lighter than either one of those. Okay, so I'm going to put a little bit of yellow right here on my palette. And I want to put a little bit of red, maybe right over here. I'm putting it on my palette like this because I don't want to mix into this is called the well. I don't want to mix into the paint well because if I mix in there, then it becomes really dirty. So my yellow, which is now perfectly beautiful and yellow, can be very messy and dirty if I get other colors in there. So I always mix in the palette. Okay, so I put my three primaries here. Remember what I just said was mix darker into lighter. Okay, so let's say, pretend this is like a little triangle, or almost like a, well, let's call it a triangle. Right up here we're going to put a color. Okay, it's going to be in between blue and yellow. So we're going to mix blue and yellow together. So I don't want to take all this blue and mix it into all that yellow because then I'm out of my pure yellow or my pure blue. So what I'm going to do is with a clean brush, I'm going to take a little yellow and put it here. Okay, and remember, darker color goes into lighter. So I rinsed my brush. I'm just going to get a little tiny touch of that blue. Darker blue goes into lighter, and then it makes, can you see? It makes a nice green there. There's a bump on my palette right here, but I want it to be right in the middle, so that's what happened. Okay, now if you're mixing and your green turns out to be too yellowy for you, you can add a little more blue, always darker into lighter. That's why I don't take a whole big glob of blue all at once, because then I'm just going to have this blue over here. I'm going to have to add more and more and more yellow to even change it. So I start with a little bit. Hope that makes sense. Okay, now let's look over here. We have a space in between yellow and red, and we're going to mix a color. So I'm running out of yellow, so I'm going to get some more from over here. Okay, so here's yellow. We're going to put darker into lighter. So which one is darker? Red. So we'll take a little tiny touch, not a big scoop of red, a little tiny touch, and put that in here and start mixing. And we have an orange. I like my orange to be a little more orangey than that. So luckily I didn't put a whole ton of red in there, because if I did, it would take a lot of yellow to change it. So I'm going to just put a little more yellow in. See, once I did my darker into lighter, if it wasn't the right color, then I can go in and adjust it. So now I like that orange a little bit better. Okay, we have two colors left, red and blue. Which one is darker? That's a tough one, because they're kind of both vibrant, dark colors, but I would say that the blue one is going to be darker than the red. So we have to go darker into lighter, right? So we take some of this red, put it over here in the middle, forming this circle, and then rinse your brush. Always rinse your brush in between. Then take a little bit of that blue, just a tiny touch. It doesn't take very much blue to change colors, and we're going to mix that in here. And it's getting purpley, right? But I want it to be a little more purple. So this is where I can go, okay, and take just a little bit more. It's kind of like if you're making soup and you put way too much salt in, you cannot take the salt out. You do a tiny bit of salt, test it, a tiny bit more salt, test it. Always test it in between. So let me raise this up here a little bit more where you can see these colors. Okay, I think I like that purple. I'm happy with that orange, and I'm happy with that green. So now we've made 3 more colors, purple, orange, and green. Let's see what they look like over here on the paper. Here's our purple. I like that. What did we call these next colors? Remember, these were primaries. What did we call these next ones that we used, that we mixed other colors to get? What did we call them? If these are primary, then these here are going to be called secondary. So you have just learned how to make secondary colors by using the primary colors. I don't have very much green here, so the green may not show up as much as I want, but I'm going to put a spot. Yeah, we need to get a little bit more green. Let's make some. Okay, here we go. All right, I just quickly made some more green using yellow and blue. Okay, so here are the secondary colors. Now, there are even more than that. There are colors called tertiary, but we're not going to do those yet. That's the 3rd round of colors. That's where we mix yellow orange, or we get blue violet, or we get yellow green, red orange, you know, things like that. So we're not going to go for that today, but we are going to make a color wheel for ourselves, and we're going to fill it in using these colors. So let's put that piece of paper aside, and now I'm going to get the bigger piece, make some room for myself here, and let's zoom out so you can see the whole piece. All right, now I would like you to please find something to trace and put it, whoops, sorry, that wasn't in focus. Put it right up here towards the top of the paper, okay? And then you're going to trace. Sorry, I have a bad pencil. Every time I try to draw with it, it breaks. I wonder if that happened the last time I was talking to you. Okay, here's another one. All right, we're going to trace lightly around this circle. And there's our circle. Can you see? Okay, and now I want you to put a dot right in the middle. If you're not sure, just try to guess. Try to get it in the center. And then from that dot, you're going to draw a line out in some direction, any way you want, from the middle out to the circle, the edge of the circle line. Okay, now you're going to go, oh look, It's like a clock. You're going to go right about maybe to here. Okay? Everybody's is going to be a little bit different, so it's okay if yours isn't exactly shaped like mine. But you made a section. You made a large piece of pizza or a large piece of cake right there. Now we're going to go back to the middle dot, and we need to divide this side up by drawing a line. So we're going to go maybe like this. So now I have 3 pieces of pizza or cake or pie that are about the same size as each other. And now in each one of these 3 pieces of a pie, I'm going to start back in the middle at the dot and just cut it in half. So that big piece now became 2 pieces. This big piece right here is going to become 2 pieces. So I go to the middle and I draw out. And if it's hard for you, you can look at this big piece and you can kind of guess with your finger, is this halfway? Not really, because that would be a tiny piece and a big piece. So how about that? That looks like that's about halfway. So you go to the dot and you draw out. And now you should have 6 pieces. All right. Once you get 6 pieces, I want you to start with any one of them that you want. I'm going to pick this one, and you're going to put red in there. And if I go too fast, remember, this video lets you rewind or pause or replay so you can look at it again. Okay, so I have my red. And then I want to skip a color or section. Then I'm going to put some blue. So this is going to be blue. You probably already guessed we're making our own color wheel. When you get into the higher grades, like 7th and 8th grade, you're going to do this again, but you're going to use those tertiary colors, like red, orange, and yellow, green that we talked about, and make some cool, neat designs with them, making the tertiary colors. Okay, now skip one, and right here, put your last color. My last color here is yellow. All right, now, from earlier, you learned how to mix the green. And if you forget, look at this. Here's a trick. Here's your 3 colors. We skipped a space. If I mix blue and yellow, they go, the middle piece right here would be green. And this is where I want you to paint green. So let me get some. And I'd like you to try to do it with mixing your own colors. So don't just dip into the green that you have. Mix up a green ahead of time. It's good practice for you to be able to use those paints and mix with them. Okay, so that's that one. Now, here we have a color that comes in between red and orange. What do you think goes there? I'm sorry, red and yellow. I just gave you the answer. What goes there? Orange, you're right. Red and yellow make orange. Always remember, you add the darker color into the lighter color. So we would add red into the orange. I have left a little bit of space in between each one so you can see white in between each section, and that's okay because my paints are wet, and if I went all the way up to the line and the 2 wet paints touched each other, they would mix and blend and kind of bleed all together, and I'm trying to keep them separate. Okay, one last section. What is red, and how do you get the color that comes in between red and blue? What is it? Purple. You're right. You're so smart. So we're going to put purple here. And remember, you have mixed your own purple. Have some fun with it. Everybody's purple mixture is going to be different because everybody's going to use a little bit more of one color paint or a little more of another. A little more salt in the soup, right? Okay, so here we had our practice ones. Now we have a color wheel. And now you know the primary colors and the secondary colors, and you learned how to mix them. You made your own color wheel, and if you want to, you can even do things like this. You can put your colors down here, and this is if you want to, right? And you can write primary color, yellow, also primary color. Over here, you can get your other colors, and you can write secondary color, secondary color, secondary color, so that you know your 3 primaries and your 3 secondaries all on one spot on your color wheel. Okay, I hope that was fun for you, and now that you've learned how to mix paints, maybe you'll want to do a painting, and you can send it to me if you want to. But I just want to say that it has been so much fun for me to be your art teacher this year, and I'm excited to see you next year in class or online, whichever way we go, and to make some more art projects. And you can send me stuff anytime you want. I'd love to see your work. So have a great summer, and I will see you soon. Bye-bye.